Yo, what is good? Welcome back to No Cap Podcast. We are back with another episode today. So today we are going to talk about something crazy that happened to me, right? So I was talking to my mother and she was telling me a story about one of her coworkers. So my mother does border control, or she's a driver, and one of her counterparts that helps her do these long drives because they drive a long time, right? One of them died at work. And basically, what I'm trying to explain is guys, it's getting to a point where people are getting so stressed out, so tired, sick, what have you, and they can't call off of work because they're already not making enough to meet ends meet. And now you got people doing whatever they can, pulling life and limb, literally, just to get to work so they can pay these bills. You got people moving into vans, people moving into little houses. My mom is also looking at buying an RV because she said herself she wants to be done with this, right? The rat race is literally showing you that the American dream was a part of the rat race, right? It was a part of the simulation. So I'm going to show you guys a video today that's going to kind of explain what I'm talking about and kind of give more credence to what I'm talking about. So let's get into it.
It's shit like Simon says, when I say go, my goods be doing the most. Whatever you catch.
There is a growing movement of people that are going off grid. They're doing the van life. They're doing everything they can to reduce their expenses as much as possible. And for good reason. Because if you exist in modern society, you'll probably know that things are pretty darn expensive and wages haven't really kept up to that. So it's kind of tough right now. People are starting to wise up to the fact that we've been fed a bill of lies a mile long about how to live our lives. They've wised up to the fact that everything's kind of an illusion and nothing really makes sense. And the system is kind of designed and engineered to keep us trapped. And it's not really there for us. So because of that reason, people are just trying to get out. And that is a choice. That is a decision that people are starting to make. But there's something that's kind of happening right now in our modern world that we all need to pay attention to. And I think that something is the very thing that could force people into that position. And if you're not paying attention to it, it could sneak up on you and it could leave you in a very bad place. Because what I think is happening, actually what I know is happening, because I've been listening to a lot of stuff about what's going on in 2026 and beyond, especially as it relates to AI and technology, the direction that jobs are headed, the direction that our society is headed in general. And if you listen closely to what these people are saying, not what they're saying to the camera, not what they're saying the AI is going to bring in all this great stuff and it's going to increase productivity and it's going to make things so much more efficient so that everybody can just kick back and relax and let the robots do all the work. That is just what they're telling you on the surface. When you really dig into this and you listen to what these people are saying behind the scenes, when the curtain is closed, it's kind of different than that. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of people that feel just as uncertain, and I would say just as uneasy about the situation as we do. Because there are a lot of us right now that feel very uneasy about the future. I can't imagine what the future is going to look like 5-10 years from now. I can't imagine what the future is going to look like in just 2 or 3 years from now. And the people that are creating this AI stuff and all this technology that's supposed to replace humans, they're saying that too. They are kind of worried about where things are going. And there's no regulations being put in place because we're in the great space race of AI right now, because the country that masters AI takes the booty. They take the pot. They essentially have control over everything. Because when you have that kind of technology at your fingertips, that's a lot of power. You can develop things in record time. When it comes to military assets, you can make those more efficient. You can make them more effective. You can make pretty much anything you want more effective, more efficient, and you can industrialize at an unprecedented scale. And that is essentially where we're headed, but it's not just that. It's the fact that with all this AI and stuff coming in that's supposed to technically replace humans and take all of our jobs and all this stuff, it's essentially going to leave us out on the street. And right now that might sound kind of far out there. It might seem kind of far-fetched, but when you think about how fast we have progressed in this situation within just the last 5 years, and then if you think about how fast we've progressed with this situation within just the last 1 to 2 years, I don't think it's far-fetched at all. And again, when you listen to what these experts are saying, the people that are actually developing these technologies, they are saying exactly that, is that this stuff is accelerating at an unprecedented rate. And when it does get to the point that it's replacing people and replacing their jobs and doing all the things that humans do, they don't know what they're going to do with us. So think about that. Where does that leave us? Where does that leave you? What are you going to do with all your time? And even if you think this is far-fetched, it probably is going to pay to think about this stuff now. Because people right now are going through an existential crisis. There are a lot of people right now that can't find purpose and meaning in life as it is. And if you think about us being put out on the streets, and let's say that universal basic income comes in and we all just get a check to kick back and relax, and maybe there's some working involved, but everybody's basically paid the same, and you don't really even have that purpose of going to work anymore, what is that going to do to us as a society? What is that going to do to our minds? For the people that already feel like they don't fit in, like there's no place for them in the world, for the people that don't have purpose, for the people that can't find their sense of direction, what is that going to do to them? The one thing that might give people purpose, a job, showing up to work, doing something outside of just sitting around your house, what do you do outside of that? Again, these are the things we should really start thinking about, because if this sneaks up on us, and if this does happen the way they say it is going to happen, where AI just basically replaces everybody, we're going to be in a pretty tough position. And, you know, a lot of people would just think that, man, if I get a check every month and I'm on UBI and I don't have to work, I can do whatever the heck I want with my time. I can go out and I can live my best life. And that might be true for some. But for others, the ones that can't find purpose in life right now, even with a job, even with having something to do, to show up to every day, that's going to put them in a very tough spot. And what about all the people that right now, at this current moment, are struggling to find genuine connection? The ones that feel like they can't relate to anybody. Imagine how much worse that's going to get when AI comes in and replaces all of the human-to-human interaction, all of the connection, the person-to-person connection that we would otherwise have. That's a scary thing. And I think we already see this stuff happening, if you really think about it. There's a lot of job losses right now. AI is coming in and replacing a lot of people right now in the current job market. There are a lot of people that are relying on AI to have conversations. There are AI girlfriends now. Most of the social interactions that we carry out in our day-to-day lives is online. It's on social media. And social media, by the way, is an AI algorithm. It is essentially machine learning. It learns about you. It figures out what you like to look at. It figures out what keeps your attention. And the algorithm is trained in real time to give that feedback to you. And that shows up in the form of short form and long form content. It's all AI. And this is how we interact most of the time. Think about how often you had person-to-person interactions compared to 20 years ago. Think about how often you see a woman or a man on the street that you want to approach, that you want to get to know, and you actually do that. You actually walk up to them and start a conversation. Think about how often you strike up a conversation with a stranger just on a whim, just because you feel like talking. I would say that the difference between now and 10, 15, 20 years ago when it comes to that is very stark. It's very, very drastic. So these are things we should start thinking about now, because I think there are ways to get ahead of this. Because if you think about how we used to interact and the things that we used to do and the things that we used to find purpose in and meaning in and the things that got us out of bed every single day and made us look forward to the day, if you think about those things 20, 30 years ago, I think that's kind of where we're headed. But since we have adapted to this modern world, we've kind of forgotten that. We've forgotten what it's like to live that life. Now, for those of us who grew up in the 80s and 90s and before that, we knew what it was like growing up in a world without the internet, without all this technology. And we also know what the modern world is like. And we can see the differences very clearly because we experienced both of these things. For the younger generations, it's much harder to see that because the only thing they know is all this new technology. So for those younger generations, it's going to be really hard to adapt when we get thrown into this replacement and this UBI, this system that is going to essentially replace us. It's going to be very hard to adapt to that. For the older generations, it might not be as hard, but for the people that have adjusted to this and that love this comfort and that now live in this world and actually like to exist in this world, it's going to be tough for them. And that's where I think this future that we're headed towards is going to kind of force us back into the Stone Age. Yes, we're going to be surrounded by all this technology, but I think it's kind of forcing our hand and pushing us back into the simpler ways of doing things. And I think that's one reason why people are currently having this moment where they're just wanting to escape. There's this movement where they're just trying to get out and trying to simplify their lives because they see how complex all this technology and I would say just modern society in general is making their lives. So you can see how this is kind of forcing our hands. It's kind of forcing us to take a step back and kind of take a breather and focus on the things in life that are actually important. Because I think a lot of people are finding that the things that are important in life are not going to be found in this future that we're headed towards. It's not going to be found in technology. It's not going to be found in AI. It's going to be found in the way that we did things before, the simpler ways that we did things before, the basics, the fundamentals of life. That is why there's a movement for homesteading. That's why there's a movement of people doing the van life and just traveling the world and seeing the sights, because the natural world, raising animals, raising your own food, doing things that are productive yet meaningful at the same time, those are the things that are important. And you know, the fact is, none of us can predict what the future is going to hold. Everything is so uncertain right now that it's basically impossible to tell what direction we're headed. Because if you think about our past and what got us to this point, everybody thought that when computers came in, they were going to make things so much more efficient that we would be able to work less. But we've seen that when these corporations and these people at the top realized that computers were making them all this extra money, and that if they had people work harder in conjunction with having the computers, they could 10x their profits. So that's exactly what they did, because greed always gets in the way. So maybe that's the direction we'll head with AI. Maybe they'll realize that AI combined with humans and having us work even harder than we do now is going to boost their revenue. It's going to boost their profits. So maybe we'll end up working more. Maybe we'll have even less time to ourselves than what we do now. It's really hard to say, but in either scenario, I think it's going to be fundamentally important to get ahead of this now, to start thinking about how you can bring that purpose and fulfillment into your life now, before AI does or doesn't take our jobs away. Because in either scenario, your sense of purpose, your sense of direction, and your sense of self is going to be lacking. Because the more artificial our world becomes, and the more that the modern world is focused on profits and industrialization and increased productivity and efficiency and all these things that don't really matter to us, that removes us further and further away from the things in life that actually matter. Because even when you're kicked back and you don't have to work and you're getting a check every single month for just existing, we as humans still need a purpose. We need a reason to get out of bed every morning. We need something to look forward to. And if all we have is a materialistic world that's largely fake and that's largely artificial, what is there to look forward to? Is that the thing that's really going to get us out of bed every morning? Is that the thing that people are actually going to look forward to? Is waking up and sticking yourself in the matrix and putting your VR headset on and existing in the digital world, is that really the thing that's going to light you up? Is talking to an AI robot the thing that is going to bring you purpose and fulfillment? Is getting further away from nature and constantly staring at the concrete jungle and the power lines and all these large, gigantic AI data centers that are taking up all of the natural world, is that really going to be the thing that you're going to look forward to walking outside to every day? When you use your UBI check to take a trip to go out to the country and relax for a while, is staring at one of those things going to be the thing that brings you peace? And again, this might sound kind of dystopian, it might sound kind of outlandish, but if you read the signs, you listen to what these people are actually telling us, and you use your own eyes and just look around, you're going to see that that's where we're headed. And if we're not careful, this future is going to sneak up on us. It's going to be here before we know it, and most of us aren't going to be prepared for it. Because the harsh reality is that in our modern world, most people allow their job titles to define them. I was in that boat for almost 20 years. I 100% allowed my job title to define me. And if you think about one of the first questions that gets asked whenever you meet somebody new, it's almost always, what do you do for work? What do you do for a living? That's what people want to know, because that is what defines most people. So when that job title goes away and AI takes our jobs away and replaces us, where's our identity? Who are we at that point? That's why I think it's fundamentally important to understand who you are in the current moment, to get ahead of this now and start looking deep within yourself and figuring out who you are and what you actually want out of life outside of work. Because at some point, work may not be here. At some point, all these things might become very uncertain, and that might leave you questioning your identity, looking for purpose, looking for meaning. And if you wait and do those things after AI has already taken over most of the jobs and has put us out on the street, so to speak, you're going to be struggling. Now you're going to be lost. Now you're going to be confused. Now you're not going to have any sense of direction, and you're going to be left struggling trying to figure all this out in a trying time. That's why I think this is extremely important to shift away from external validation, things like salary and job title, into more of a sense of intrinsic fulfillment. Who are you without all these things? Who are you without all of this external validation? Who are you actually? Tuning into yourself and figuring that out now before it's too late. And to do this, I think it's as simple as just reconnecting with your personal values, with who you are on the inside, the person that you are when you're free of societal pressures, reigniting your imagination and that sense of curiosity that I know we all have, thinking outside the box and doing things that are a little unorthodox, that go against the grain, because that is the mindset that it's going to take to get us through this period that we're currently facing. Learning self-mastery, that is extremely important. Building communities of like-minded people around common ideas, common interests, common goals. Building communities around passion and creativity. All these things are going to be extremely important as we navigate this road ahead. And if we do in fact get stuck with the UBI, a universal basic income, and we all just get a check for sitting back and doing nothing, at least when you get that check, you're going to know deep down what it is that lights you up. You're going to be tuned into your internal compass, and you're going to be able to use that money towards something that's actually going to fulfill you, towards something that's actually going to be meaningful to you, instead of just blowing it on a bunch of materialistic stuff like most people will probably end up doing. Because if that is the position we are in fact forced into, eventually, later down the road in the future at some point, then you're going to be very, very grateful that you focused on this stuff now, that you figured this out now instead of waiting. Because when that time comes and everybody else is out on the street, pushed back into the Stone Age, and they've lost their sense of direction, they have no purpose, everybody's depressed, everybody's struggling trying to figure things out, and everybody's leaning on materialistic stuff and consumerism, thinking that that is the thing that's going to fulfill them, only to find out after getting all the stuff they're trying to get that it didn't do anything to fill the void that is in their soul. You're going to be very grateful that you did this stuff now. You're going to be very grateful that you focused on yourself now and figured yourself out before it's too late. So the people that have the courage to face uncertainty head on, to redefine purpose on an individual scale, and to do that now, those are the people that I truly believe are going to thrive in this uncertain future that we're all headed towards.
So when I talk to this type of content about people, like, people get really uneasy, and I don't like force it down their throat. You know, they just bring up stuff like, oh my God, gas is $5, da 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 da. I'm like, yeah, well, they keep doing X, Y, and Z, right? Closing the strait, opening it, prices going to this, that, you know, what actually happened, how much gas they took in Venezuela. They're like, what the fuck? And it's like, I think it's hard for people to accept, like, the level of manipulation that America has come to. Like, it just, dude, it's not sustainable. Realistically, it's not. Like, financially, it's not sustainable. I started working at the ripe age of 16. So as soon as I could start working, I did. Minimum wage when I was 16 was $7.25 an hour. I am 30 years old as I speak to you on this microphone, and minimum wage is still $7.25 an hour, right? So that's like the basis. That's already like the foundation of the problem right there. Minimum wage hasn't raised in 14 years, and nobody can sustain their life off anything less than, like, I'd say my number is always 25, right? Because I have a house, I have a car, I have a cell phone, I have car insurance, I have all these things. So, like, 25 an hour is like bare minimum for a 9 to 5. Bare minimum. Doesn't go below that. Some people are getting paid 12, 13, 18, 17. You know, they have kids, they have health care, they have all of this. Like, I'm a veteran, so I have like free health care. So there's everyone has a different set of cards that they're dealt and that they're playing them. And then now we're realizing the dealer is playing us. I mean, that's usually how card games go, but the dealer is really just wiping us off the map, right? So, you know, it honestly is a hard pill to swallow, right? But even me and my girlfriend, we're trying to move out. We're moving out of country, right? So we said we're putting both of our houses up, right? Because she has a house, I have a house, so we're gonna put both of our houses up to rent, and then we're just gonna move out of country. You know what I mean? Like, we're not even going to sit here and try to compete with this rat race, right? We're gonna go somewhere else, and then we're gonna live life like that. So, and well, we're gonna see how life lives, right? And if it's sustainable and it's legit, then absolutely, we're staying out there, right? But yeah, guys, like, it's none of this stuff is sustainable. It's really not. Like, it's rough out here. Really, it is. It's really rough out here. It's god awful. And it doesn't help that these AI centers are stacking on top of that. Like, you have they're building an AI center. I have to pull this up. This is insane, right? This is absolutely insane. There's a huge AI center, Utah. Okay. No, it's like hold on, I'm gonna be real specific. Okay, right. So boom, dude, look at that. Fast track plans for a massive hyperscale data center proposed in Box Elder County hinge on nearly 40,000 acres of privately held land in a remote slice of desert basin known as Hanzo Valley. The state board overseeing Utah's military installation authority of MIDA says that private landowners across those separately populated and unincorporated portions of the county have agreed to use of their land for a multi-billion-dollar project in what is being called the Stratos project. Okay, Project Stratos. Okay. MIDA is also including another separate 1,200 acres that can take in part of the Department of Defense's Utah Test and Training Range and property owned by the Utah Trust Lands Administration. Bro, insane. So look at that. Look how you see how big that data center would be? Look at that, dude. See, all these bigwigs are buying up all the land, monopolizing it, pricing the little guy out, pricing the blue collar guy out, pricing the white collar guy out. Shit. Even the doctors and stuff. Like, you know, a couple of my friends that make 200, 300, $400,000 a year getting priced out of some of this stuff, right? Cuz bro, so let's do the math, bro. Let's see how many 40,000 acres is in miles. Or that was about 42. I'll say 42,000. 42,000 acres in miles or square miles. Yeah, it'd be square miles. 65 square miles of just straight data center. 65 square miles of just straight data center. That's actually insane. That's literally insane. I don't know, guys. Like, that tells you everything you need to know. And then I think they're also doing, if I'm not mistaken, there's a big data center that's getting, I think, vetoed right now, and I want to say Louisiana. Sorry, I can't type, boys. But yeah, 1.6 gets canceled. Yeah, okay, that's Cleveland, Ohio. Okay, see, look at that, dude. Largest metadata center. Yeah, it brings big impact to. Look at that bitch, dude. That is massive. There's no way. That looks like the Avengers facility in the Avengers movie, bro. Richland Parish, Louisiana Richland Parish Data Center will be a part of the global infrastructure that brings meta technologies and programs to life, and it will play a vital role in accelerating an AI progress, delivering over 2 gigawatts of compute capacity to train future open source large language models. Bro, I think these data centers are portals, and I think AI is like something like a hive mind, and like these data centers are going to feed this AI, and this AI is going to like open some shit or figure some shit out. That's what I think is going to happen. Because there's no reason these data centers are being built this fast, this big, at around the same time. You know what I mean? When there's smoke, there's fire, boys. But that's about it for this video. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe, leave a comment down below, and we will come back next time on No Cap Podcast. Peace.